The other wife, when 6-year-old Lily walked into the coffee shop and pointed directly at a stranger sitting alone in the corner booth, whispering urgently to her mother, "Mommy, that's my husband from before." Rebecca's first instinct was to laugh. But the look of desperate recognition in her daughter's eyes, and the way the man's coffee cup froze halfway to his lips as he stared back at them, made her blood run cold instead. The man was probably in his early 40s, with graying temples and kind eyes that were now wide with shock. He looked like he'd seen a ghost, which, Rebecca realized with growing unease, might not be far from the truth. "Lily, sweetheart, you don't know that man," Rebecca said quietly, trying to steer her daughter toward an empty table. But Lily pulled away with surprising strength, her small face crumpled with emotion. "Yes, I do. That's David. He used to make me pancakes every Sunday morning, and he always put too much syrup on them because he knew I liked them sweet." Tears began streaming down her cheeks. Why doesn't he see me? Why won't he look at me? But David was looking. In fact, he hadn't taken his eyes off Lily since she'd pointed at him. His face had gone pale, and his hands were trembling as he set down his coffee cup. Rebecca felt trapped between her daughter's inexplicable distress and the growing attention from other customers. She was about to apologize to the stranger and leave when he stood up slowly, as if moving through water. "Excuse me," he said, his voice hoarse. "I'm sorry, but—" What did she just say about pancakes? Rebecca's mouth went dry. She said you used to make them for her. With too much syrup. But that's impossible. We've never met you before. David sank back into his seat, his face ashen. "My wife, my late wife Sarah. She always complained that I put too much syrup on her pancakes. She said I was trying to give her diabetes, but she'd laugh when she said it." His voice broke. "She died 3 years ago in a car accident." A coffee shop seemed to fade around them as the impossible implications of what he just said settled in. Lily, meanwhile, had broken free from Rebecca's grip and was walking toward David with the confident stride of someone approaching a beloved family member. "You're sad," she said simply, standing beside his table. "You've been sad for a really long time. But you don't have to be sad anymore, because I'm here now." David stared down at her, his eyes filling with tears. You look just like her. When she was little, her mother showed me pictures." "I know," Lily said matter-of-factly. "I look the same because I am the same, just smaller now." She climbed onto the bench across from him without invitation. "You still have that scar on your hand from when you tried to fix the garbage disposal, and I told you not to." David's left hand instinctively moved to cover a jagged scar on his right palm. "How could you possibly know about that?" "Because I was there. I was so mad at you for not listening to me." Lily's voice carried the exasperated tone of a wife who'd been proven right. "I said we should call a repairman, but you said you could handle it. You always said you could handle things, even when you couldn't." Rebecca felt like she was watching a dream or a nightmare. This couldn't be happening. 6-year-olds didn't have memories of being married. They didn't know intimate details about strangers' lives. They didn't speak with the weary affection of someone who'd shared decades with another person. "Lily," she said weakly, "come back here. We need to go." But Lily ignored her, reaching across the table to touch David's scarred hand. "You stopped wearing your wedding ring," she observed sadly. "I don't blame you. I know it hurt too much to look at it every day." David's composure finally cracked. "Sarah," he whispered, and the name hung in the air like a prayer. "Is it really you?" "I'm Lily now," she said gently. "But yes, it's me. I came back because you needed me to. You've been so lonely, David, so lost." Rebecca watched in stunned silence as her 6-year-old daughter comforted a grown man with the practiced ease of someone who'd done it countless times before. The other coffee shop patrons had stopped pretending not to stare, but Rebecca barely noticed them. Her entire world had narrowed to this impossible conversation between her child and a stranger who somehow wasn't a stranger at all. "I don't understand," David said, his voice breaking. "How is this possible?" Lily tilted her head, considering the question with the seriousness of a philosopher. "I don't know how. I just know that after the bright light and the floating feeling, I was supposed to come back. Not for me. I was ready to stay in the peaceful place. But you weren't ready to let go, and your sadness was so loud that it followed me everywhere." She paused, her small face creased with concern. "You stopped taking care of yourself. You stopped eating the foods you liked. You stopped seeing our friends. You even stopped going to the park where we had our first date." David's tears were flowing freely now. "I couldn't. Everything reminded me of you. I didn't know how to live without you." "But you don't have to live without me," Lily said simply. "I'm here. I'm different now, and I can't be your wife anymore because I'm just a little girl. But I'm still me, and I still love you, and I still want you to be happy." Rebecca finally found her voice. "This is insane. Lily, we're leaving." "Now?" But as she reached for her daughter's hand, David looked up at her with desperate eyes. "Please, I know how this sounds. I know how impossible it seems. But could we talk? Just for a few minutes? There are things only Sarah would know." Against every rational instinct, Rebecca found herself nodding. They moved to a quieter corner of the coffee shop, and David began asking questions that no 6-year-old should be able to answer. "What was the name of the song that was playing when we first danced?" "At Last" by Etta James, Lily replied without hesitation. "You said it was perfect because you'd been waiting your whole life to find me. What did you want to name our children?" "Emma for a girl, after your grandmother. Michael for a boy, after my father." Lily's expression grew sad. "We never got the chance to have them." "What was the last thing you said to me?" Lily was quiet for a long moment, her small hands folded in her lap. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "I said, don't forget to pick up milk on your way home." Such a silly, ordinary thing to be the last words between us. David buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "You were supposed to go to the store. But you had a headache, so I said I'd go after work. If I had just gone at lunch like I planned." "David, no." Lily's voice carried an authority that seemed impossible from someone so small. "You can't blame yourself. It wasn't your fault. It was just time for that life to end." She reached across the table and took his hand in both of hers. "But this is a new life, a new chance. I came back to tell you that it's okay to let go of the sadness. It's okay to be happy again. It's okay to love someone new." "I can't," David said. "I won't ever love anyone the way I loved you." "I know," Lily said gently. "And that's okay. That love was special, and it should stay special. But there are different kinds of love, David. You have room in your heart for more than just missing me." Rebecca listened to this impossible conversation with growing amazement and terror. Her daughter was speaking with the wisdom of someone who'd lived a full life, who understood love and loss in ways that no child should. But more than that, she was offering comfort with a generosity of spirit that took Rebecca's breath away. "Lily," Rebecca said carefully, "how long have you remembered being Sarah?" Lily turned to her with patient eyes. "Since always, Mommy. But I knew you wouldn't understand, so I kept it quiet. I tried to just be your little girl and forget about before. But then I saw David, and I could feel how much pain he was carrying, and I couldn't pretend anymore." "Are there others? Other people you remember?" "Some. I remember Sarah's parents, her sister Jenny, her best friend Maria. I remember the house we lived in, the job I had at the library, the way David would leave little notes in my lunch bag." Lily smiled at the memory. "But those are Sarah's memories. I'm Lily now, and I have my own life to live. David looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. Could I see you sometimes? I don't know what I'm asking exactly, but you want to be part of her life, Rebecca said, understanding dawning. You want to know the person Sarah became. I want to know that she's happy, David said simply. I want to know that this new life is good for her. Lily nodded seriously. I'd like that too. But David, you have to promise me something. Anything. You have to start living again. Really living, not just existing. You have to eat vegetables. And see your friends, and maybe even go on a date someday. She held up a small hand when he started to protest. I'm serious. I didn't come back just to watch you waste the rest of your life missing me. Over the following months, an unusual friendship developed. David became a regular presence in their lives, not as a replacement father figure, but as something harder to define. He was the keeper of Sarah's memories, the bridge between who Lily had been and who she was becoming. He would visit on weekends, bringing stories about Sarah's life that helped Lily understand her own memories. He showed her photographs of places they'd traveled, read her letters Sarah had written, shared the small details of a life lived and lost. But more importantly, he began to heal. Lily's presence in his life, not as Sarah reborn, but as living proof that love transcends death, gave him permission to grieve fully, and then, gradually, to hope again. She's not Sarah, he explained to Rebecca one afternoon as they watched Lily play in the backyard. She's herself, completely and wonderfully herself. But she carries something of Sarah with her, and it's a gift I never expected to receive. Rebecca had struggled with the situation at first, torn between protecting her daughter and honoring what seemed to be a genuine miracle. But watching Lily flourish under David's gentle attention, seeing how his presence seemed to ground her in ways Rebecca couldn't fully understand, she began to accept that some relationships defy conventional explanation. Does it bother you? David asked one day. Having me in your lives like this? Rebecca considered the question carefully. At first, yes. I was terrified that you'd try to claim her somehow, or that she'd love you more than me because of this connection to her past life. She paused, watching Lily chase butterflies in the garden. But I've realized that love isn't a finite resource. Lily loving you doesn't mean she loves me less. And you loving the person she was doesn't diminish her appreciation for who she is now. As Lily grew older, the memories of being Sarah began to fade, like dreams that lose their clarity in daylight. She would still occasionally mention details from her previous life, but they became less frequent and less emotionally charged. She was, increasingly, just Lily, a bright, compassionate child with an unusual capacity for empathy and an old soul that sometimes showed through her young eyes. David, meanwhile, began to rebuild his life. He started dating again, tentatively. At first, then with growing confidence. When he introduced his new girlfriend to Rebecca and Lily, it was with the nervous excitement of someone seeking approval from family. I like her, Lily announced after meeting David's girlfriend, Amanda. She makes you laugh the way you used to laugh with me. Sarah would approve. The wedding invitation arrived 2 years later with a handwritten note from David. Sarah always said she wanted me to find happiness again. I think she'd be pleased to know that her wish came true and that it happened because of the extraordinary gift of knowing Lily. At the wedding, Lily served as flower girl, scattering petals with the solemn dignity of someone who understood the significance of the moment. During the reception, she approached David and Amanda with a small wrapped gift. What's this? Amanda asked, kneeling down to Lily's level. It's Sarah's wedding ring, Lily said simply. David gave it back to me a long time ago, but I think you should have it now. Not to wear. It belongs to a different love story. But to keep, so you'll always remember that the love David had before doesn't make his love for you any less special." Amanda's eyes filled with tears as she accepted the small velvet box. "Thank you, Lily. That's the most beautiful gift anyone's ever given me." David hugged Lily tightly, whispering something in her ear that made her giggle. Later, when Rebecca asked what he'd said, Lily smiled mysteriously. "He said Sarah would be proud of the woman I'm becoming, and that he's grateful every day for the miracle that brought us together, even if he doesn't understand it." As the years passed, the extraordinary circumstances of their meeting became simply part of their family story. Lily grew into a teenager, with David as a beloved uncle figure, someone who'd known her in ways that transcended the ordinary bonds of friendship. She would sometimes catch him looking at her with wonder, as if he still couldn't quite believe the gift he'd been given. "Do you ever regret it?" Rebecca asked David once as they watched teenage Lily perform in a school play. "The strangeness of it all? The questions you can never really answer?" David was quiet for a long moment. "I used to think that losing Sarah was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. I thought I'd never recover from that kind of grief." He smiled, his eyes never leaving Lily's animated face on stage. "But then I learned that love doesn't end with death. It just ... transforms, changes shape, finds new ways to exist in the world." He turned to Rebecca with tears in his eyes. "Lily gave me back my faith in the impossible. She taught me that some connections are too strong for death to break, and that the people we love never really leave us. They just find new ways to remind us that love is the only thing that truly matters." That night, as Rebecca tucked Lily into bed, her daughter looked up with the same wise eyes that had recognized David in a coffee shop all those years ago. "Mom, do you think I'll remember being Sarah when I'm grown up?" Rebecca smoothed her daughter's hair, considering the question. "I don't know, sweetheart. Does it matter?" Lily thought about it seriously. "I don't think so. The important thing isn't remembering every detail of who I was before. The important thing is that love doesn't die, even when people do. And that sometimes, if we're very lucky, we get the chance to love the same people in different ways across different lifetimes." She yawned, settling deeper into her pillow. "Besides, I have my own life to live now, my own love stories to write. Sarah's story is finished, but mine is just beginning." As Rebecca turned off the light, she reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought them to this moment. A chance encounter in a coffee shop had revealed truths about love, loss, and the mysterious connections that bind us across time and space. It had taught them all that some relationships transcend the boundaries of a single lifetime, and that the human capacity for love is far more vast and enduring than we dare to imagine. Lily slept peacefully that night, her dreams filled not with memories of a past life, but with hopes for the future. And somewhere in the space between what we can prove and what we choose to believe, the love story of Sarah and David found its perfect ending, not in reunion, but in release, not in holding on, but in letting go with grace. If stories like Lily's touch your heart the way they do mine, please subscribe to our channel. We explore the mysteries of human connection, the unexplained bonds that tie us together across time and circumstance, and the remarkable ways that love finds expression even in the most impossible situations. Your subscription helps us continue sharing these incredible tales that remind us that love truly is the force that moves the universe, and that sometimes the most beautiful love stories are the ones that teach us when to hold on and when to let go.